Good evening, you guys. We are back again for another week of the football show with no name. I am Clint, and for now, still the champ. As you see, I got my trophy back. We got Big Ferg up in the top right, Ian over in the top left, and Miss Lauren on the bottom left. So I hope you guys are doing well this evening. We got a packed show, so we got to talk about football, like actual football, and then we got to start talking about like fantasy football because we're in the playoffs. So I want to hear about how you guys did. We'll talk about how I finished last in the show league later, Ian, if you would like to. We'll definitely talk about that.
Please allow that.
I'll
Please allow that.
Remember that.
No, that's completely.
Let's
okay.
talk about that first.
That's actually a really good idea.
I take my lumps where I have them.
Does anybody remember the man that came up with the idea to have a bet? Because it wasn't me, and it wasn't Clint. It wasn't Jeff, and it wasn't Ian. But I forget what he said he was going to do. Does anybody remember?
It had something
We
to do
can
with
go to the tape. We can go to the tape now.
I'm not wearing a dress. So we have a big show. Talk about that. Talk about the upcoming regular football playoffs.
I will be right back.
What the playoff picture is looking like, and then we are going to welcome a guest on at 8:00, Mr. EJ Wilson. We're going to talk to him a little bit. He was a all-conference player in college at Carolina, where he played defensive tackle. He got drafted in the 4th round by the Seahawks. Got cut short. His career got cut short by an Achilles injury. And he is now a businessman. So we're going to talk to him a little bit about some different kind of things. So let's start this off first. So how many leagues are you in? Question
Me?
one. Yeah, no.
Ian is in 642. Leagues.
I am in third. Yeah.
No,
I'm
I'm
in
seven.
You have to
This
hold
year
yours
only
to last. You have to hold yours
only
to last
17, I think. 17 this year.
17 leagues. Out of 17 leagues, how many leagues are you in the playoffs?
Maybe 13.
Okay, so you have a plus percentage. All right, so do you have a legitimate shot at winning any of those leagues?
I say at least one.
Okay.
I think of one. I think of one. I probably got a pretty good shot.
That's what we play for. We play for one-time champs, right? All we need is one, right? All right, Ian. So in the 3,332 leagues that you are in, how many playoff contenders do you have?
I am in 37 leagues.
Okay.
I made the playoffs in 29 of them.
Great percentage.
I have 24 bye weeks, and no, these are not all free sleeper leagues with teams that are vacant. These are all actual leagues.
All right. So how many do you have actual contenders?
A few. I actually have 2 undefeated. I have 2 teams that went 14-0.
Nice.
Couple 13s and ones. So they're not the most competitive of leagues, but so I would say that in my most competitive of leagues, I would say 2 or 3. I've got legitimate shots, I would say. In our other league of record, any given Sunday, I came in the first seed there, so it's a legitimate shot there.
Nice.
So looking forward to it.
That sounds nice.
Looking forward to it.
That's always fun when you don't have to worry about at least one week, but then you have to start worrying about are the teams that you like, because most people that finish in first place have Jalen Hurts. So I'm assuming that at least one of those teams that you finished in first had Jalen.
I actually have 0 shares of Jalen Hurts in all 37 leagues. Yeah.
That's impressive.
I think I have one.
I have
one
team.
But I only have 4 leagues.
I have more shares of Baker Mayfield than I have Jalen Hurts.
Wow. I'll leave that alone. All right, Lauren. So what say you? How many leagues, how many playoff teams, how many legitimate shots?
So I have 4 leagues like you. I have 1 Jalen Hurts league, and I did not get into that one. That was with the Asian commissioner. He I didn't get into that one. And, I'm in the playoffs in 1. I made some fatal errors this year that I've learned some lessons from, but I don't have a chance of winning that one. So
yes, you do.
I'm just kind of chilling and waiting for the no, I don't.
You're the number 4 seed. You have a legitimate shot.
There's no way I'm winning this week.
But
I
she
will
knows
get
her
my ass whooped this week.
Right. So
my
team
is on IR.
Yeah, I get that.
But you're still the 4th seed.
So all right. So I have 4
I'm never
leagues.
again
Well,
Oh, sorry,
so
go ahead.
I have 4 leagues like Warren. I made the playoffs in 3 of those leagues.
Nice, good
So the
percentage.
one that I won last year.
Jesus fucking Christ.
This thing that Berg wants. That's why he's so upset every time it's shown on
Fucking
camera.
Christ.
It's like it's precious. He just
Did you
can't
make the
do it.
playoffs in Hoop?
He's never had it.
I did. I snuck into the
Berg and
playoffs.
I both snuck in the playoffs.
I snuck in the back the last minute. It came down to the points.
Yep, the 7 and 8 seed. Berg and I jumped Berg for the 7 seed because I won
this year.
Say what?
What
You said what was the trophy?
Ferg gets that trophy off you this year?
If Ferg gets
I
his
just
trophy,
want like what are we?
Lauren,
we're
look,
gonna.
I celebrate
will build a shelf
dude,
right there,
I mean,
and I will
gonna,
put the trophy right there so you can see it every week.
Is it the same trophy that?
Okay,
that
I just want to make sure there's like something.
Now, so the trophy has been steadily upgraded by Merle every year. This is the most recent Lombardi version. I just got a little plaque when I won it, but now it's all fancy and shit.
Right. So let's talk about that for a second. So we also have this thing. It's probably about yay wide and about yay tall that had all of the winners on it in plaque form.
Where's that?
It's at Merrill's house.
Did he win it last year? That's why he has it?
No. It's at his house because it's the plaque of all winners.
It's the league of record, the honor roll.
This is what the champion gets to take home. Right.
Gotcha.
And so this is the Super Bowl champion. So the regular season champion, which is what you guys saw last year, was that Flava Flav chain.
The chain, yeah.
Right. So that's the regular season.
Okay.
So both of you have your name on the plaque.
I've won it 3 times.
Just won it
in
once.
a row? Because you had it last season and you have it this season.
No, I had the regular season last season.
Yeah, the Flava Flav.
The regular season last season was great, but this is the Super Bowl. This is what matters.
I won the very first year that I ever played with him.
Yep.
With the very first draft pick of whom? Reggie Bush.
Yeah.
Really?
Nice. That's
Reggie
my
Bush.
boy.
From Charles.
Reggie Bush's rookie year. I picked one and I took Reggie, but they had keepers back then. So
all right, so you guys, we have to make sure that we keep this on course because we have a guest coming on in 22 minutes, right? And we want to get some things out of the way. So all of that being said, the reason I wanted to bring all the fantasy stuff up first is to let you guys know out there in the public that you have some experienced fantasy football players on this show. I've been playing for 21 years. Ferg, how many years?
Ooh.
You've been playing since the inception of Hoofnagel, right?
Yeah, at least. Or before that. So
what do you got?
Yeah. 22, 23.
Yeah, Ian, what you got? Lauren, what you got?
I gotta think back to what ex-girlfriend it was. 10 years, I think.
So 2008 was 14 years ago. So you have
years?
14 years of experience. So essentially, you're talking about over 80 years of experience on the show, right? And so, so what we're gonna say about some fantasy football, I want everybody to give, kind of what their best advice would be. I'll start real quick for going into the playoffs. This is one thing that's critical that I love doing, and it may seem like an asshole move. But look at who you're playing. Find out where their weak parts are. Drop who you're not going to use, and pick up who's hot on the waiver wire if it's somebody that they would need.
Just
right.
terrible.
So block your opponent, especially Ian, if you have a bye. Right. If you have a bye, you look forward to next week because you don't even got to worry about shit. You look forward to next week, and you're like, okay, so especially defenses, you guys, you got to look at defenses like Kansas City. Holy crap. Like they have a great playoff schedule, right? So you have to look at these defensive things because they could give you the couple of point advantage that makes a difference in the playoffs.
You got to be careful though, because there are some leagues that will absolutely call bullshit. Like the very first championship I ever won, I think was 2010. My opponent, I don't remember who the players were, but his opponent was in the championship game, was ruled out. He got hurt with something, and he wasn't paying attention right away. So I went on there and I literally picked up a quarterback, dropped him, picked up a quarterback, dropped him, picked up a quarterback, dropped him, just so that they wouldn't claim waivers. It was a total ass move, and I caught a lot of flack for it, but I won the championship.
So let me tell you something that I heard today that wraps this up. If the platform allows it, brother, it's fair game. What does EA Sports say, man? What's EA Sports tagline?
It's in the game.
I don't agree with that because that trade that happened in your league with Patrick Mahomes is ridiculous.
That is different. That is different. There's no veto allowed in that league. That's why that's different. There should be
but that's
veto allowed in that league.
if it's that's like that's bull. I'm so mad about that. I hope that guy goes down this week.
That's a terrible trade.
Me too, because he did not get a bye.
Okay. Does he watch the show?
In that league too.
Does he watch this show?
Yes.
You should call him. Tell him.
I think.
All right. So that guy.
Hey, you guy.
That guy.
His name is Kevin.
Kevin. That is the worst bullshit trade. I've actually been pissed about it since I heard about it. Like
this is
3 weeks ago. A week ago.
Like that. It doesn't. I like have.
It was bad.
That is absolute
really
bullshit,
bad.
my man. You should be taken
You should
down.
call Kevin and bring him on right now.
Bring him on.
Call Kevin to the stage and bring him.
It's cheating.
It is cheating. Clint
straight up cheated.
We have given him so much shit.
Kevin
he
Trump,
deserves it.
Tell you now,
Oh,
Kevin
yeah, no, for
Trump.
sure.
Clint, you are absolutely correct in what you said, that when it comes to the playoffs, it is not about looking at your roster for this week.
Nope.
It is looking at your roster
2 weeks.
for the championship week, looking at the matchups. If you don't get there, listen, in our other league of record, I picked up Jacksonville last week. They're a defense. I'm not playing them. In the championship game, they play Houston. So I just picked them up and just stashed them. And if I get that far, maybe I play them. But if I don't, my opponent isn't playing them.
See, and to your point, Travis Etienne is the same question because they have a terrible schedule until the championship week. Right?
Just take them and stash them. That's how it works.
Still not over it, Kevin.
So let's go in
Let's
the same order. Ferg, what say you, bro? What's your best fantasy football advice heading into the playoffs?
Best advice. I would say don't get cute. Like me and Ian probably talk every Sunday. We talk before these games and we run down these receivers and running backs. We're like, why are we getting cute? Now sometimes you have to split hairs. Like I have split hairs between Godwin, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins. They're basically all the same dude.
It comes down to matchups.
It comes down to the matchups. But if you have like the guy from Cincinnati, because Higgins might be hurt, Boyd might be hurt.
He's hurt.
So don't start Trenton Irwin over Chris Godwin this week just because you saw that flea flicker last week. Don't get cute. No. It's like if you think that you know what you're doing and you made the playoffs, don't devalidate all your draft decisions by being like, yeah, I took this dude in the second round. I'm just going to not play him now.
You know what? To your point, I got to say something to your point. I heard something earlier. Actually, I read something earlier that you just said without saying these words. Trust your studs.
Okay. Timeout.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I have lost more than my fair share of championships by the notion of always play your studs. In my other league of record that I've been in for at least 12 years, that I've never won. Never won. I've been in the finals 4 times, never won. Was in it last year. And I had Ezekiel Elliott, who even though he was terrible all year long, I kept on playing him. Play your studs. I wound up losing that game, the finals last year, by like 8 points. You probably won't remember this, but sitting on my bench was Jarrett Patterson of the Washington Commanders, who was the only healthy running back left. Dude went for 25. And I looked at Patterson and Zeke, and I couldn't decide who to start, even though the matchup was much better with Patterson. Always play your studs. I am no longer a subscriber.
Okay. But and you remember that because the way it went down with Jarrett Patterson. But had you started Jarrett Patterson,
thank you, Ferg,
and Zeke would have blown up,
thank you, Ferg,
you would be mad for the opposite reason. You would be like, why didn't I play Zeke? Who the fuck is Jarrett Patterson?
But I don't look hindsight. I look at what happened.
No, but I get it.
I'm not automatically saying I will never just play my studs, but the lesson learned was you can't just always blindly play your studs.
Okay, so let's ask the question. Let's ask the question in a pre-quill situation. So you're sitting there before a game day. Does your mind work better saying, I would be okay if Zeke scored 25 on the bench and I lost starting Jared Patterson? Or would you feel better saying, if Jared Patterson scored 25 on the bench, that's just a better man than me won that day, right? Or a better person than me won that day. Like, what are you like? How would you feel? Because hindsight's 2020, Ian, right?
You're either going to be.
You're talking about making decisions right now.
Oh, I know it. You're either going to be a genius or an idiot. Like there's no two ways about it.
Don't go out the way to try to be the genius.
No, what I'm saying
don't be the guy that started Dare Ungwabale and he scores 3 touchdowns.
But what I'm saying
I knew it. No, you didn't know.
I'm not saying that I automatically just won't just play my studs. I will usually play my studs. What that lesson taught me was you got to give it some thought. You have to at least acknowledge the matchups and where the ceiling is.
Okay, so like right now, you're not going to play if you have another option that is equal or greater to anybody that is matched up against Sauce Gardner. You're taking that other matchup because the Jets don't allow shit in the passing game. Nothing. Right? They're the best in the league in passing yards per game allowed. Right? And so you're not playing anybody against them unless they're a Stephon Diggs or a Justin Jefferson or an AJ Brown.
Yeah.
Right.
Didn't they shut
Zeke was not in that category last year.
I think that depends on the position because I really, at this point, I don't care what running back it is. If I got to play them and they're playing the 49ers defense, I'm sitting.
I'm not playing them.
I'm not playing them. I'm not even playing them in my flex. I'm just going to sit them and try my hand with somebody else.
Yeah. No, it's I won't play anybody against San Francisco either. Yeah, and that's why even if Kenneth Walker is healthy and starting this week, which is
they say he's going to start.
Wait, so Jeff, if you're in the finals and the 49ers are playing the Vikings, you're not playing Jefferson?
No. I said running back. I said depends on the position.
Running back. Okay,
I said depends on the position.
If you're in the finals,
you're not playing Dalvin Cook.
Well, Dalvin Cook is kind of iffy. He's not that great.
I wouldn't play Dalvin Cook.
So that's what I'm saying. If any running back, there is not a running back that's out there this year that's good enough that I would say
if you're going
play them against 49ers and say fuck it.
You would
there are no running backs that good.
You would not play in PPR. You would sit Austin Eckler.
No.
I mean,
not a chance.
It would depend on who he's got.
Not a chance.
It depends on what I really got.
No, you can't.
You can't sit Austin Eckler.
You can if you're playing in a 10-team league and you've got other options.
If you've got Austin Eckler and then you've got I don't know who's ever played. It's week 17, like you said. I got Eckler, I got ATN going against the Texans,
right?
And then I got any other run-of-the-mill decent back. Any.
You got Miles Sanders going against Chicago.
I play Miles Sanders
over Eckler.
Yes.
No, maybe as a flex.
Yes.
Maybe over another receiver. Yes. I don't think I play him over.
49er linebackers are so fast that Austin Eckler's PPR value still would not be shit because getting 6 catches for 12 yards,
25 yards a game, and still gets 28 points.
I know.
I wish they played. I wish they played the test net series. I would sit him.
He's gonna go for 15. Okay.
I've been burnt too many times.
We have 9 minutes, guys.
We got to keep this on the rails.
Since we're talking about the 49ers?
Only 49ers.
Yeah, 49ers are tough.
Do we want to do, because that kind of leads into my ass of the week.
No, so let's get with you and Ian's. Well, you can lead in with that, Lauren, after we go to Ian for the fantasy tips.
Yes.
Okay, Ian. So your fantasy tip for the week going into the playoffs.
Kind of already gave it. Looking 2 weeks ahead, stashing out there. And when it comes to if you have multiple options that are all viable options, to really, really look at the matchups and look at the matchups this week and look at the matchups next week. Pick up your players. Even if you don't make it to the finals, you've got the players if you do make it that far. You want to In the regular season, you can play week to week. When you get to the playoffs, you need to be looking multiple weeks ahead.
Yeah. Agreed.
That's my advice.
It's just like a good pool player. So
absolutely.
Right.
Great
so,
analogy.
Lauren, what say you? What's your fantasy?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I've not won a championship in my 10 years, so I can't give you too much advice other than I can tell you what not to do next year. That I've got a list of. But I'll keep an eye on the weather, and I'm a big fan of picking up players that someone else needs. So if I see someone's running back's a little iffy, I might pick up the backup running back and stash them just to make sure that whatever running back is
so you're
next to pick up.
Yeah, you're a douche too. You're a douche.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, it's fine, Ferg, because what it does, like, we're not making bad trades or anything, right? We're just talking about picking up shit, and we're actually in the playoffs. Now we can have a whole other discussion that we do not.
Cock blocking. You are cock blocking.
I also like to try to play like if the other person, if I have a quarterback, my quarterback's playing against somebody stud wide receiver. I like that, or they're in the same team. Like I try to because then I can at least erase some of their make some of their points neutral. So I'll do that.
Right. So I would like to
put
a point on something for next week. I want to talk about players that are not in the playoffs picking up players off of waivers.
Sounds like a Kevin move.
I would like to talk about that next week. We don't have time to go into that today.
Oh, you're talking about like keeper leagues when nobody knows it's a keeper league and they start dropping people. Yeah, I have one of those leagues and I'm looking through those people right now.
Right. So all right. So let's do this real quick. Let's talk about some regular football games. And let's start with Lauren's favorite. We'll go 49ers and Tom Brady. And because this leads into her Ass of the Week award, and I'm sure it's Mr. Brady. I really don't have any doubt about that. And Lauren nodding her head gives me just more confirmation. Because Brady, for the first time, this is one of those fun stats, you guys. For the first time in his career, he got beat by a quarterback in his first start. Right. So he was 7-0 against these guys, against these young kids or grown men by that time. And now
it was pretty good. Pretty
good. Who has all the swagger. I don't hate it too much, but I'm not
Joe Burrow Jr.
Let me tell you about
you know what? And he's got the name too that could probably do it, right? So 35-7 was the final. It was not good on the Buccaneers side, and all good on the Niners side. Christian McCaffrey did his thing, had 2 touchdowns. Brock Purdy did his thing. Ayuk actually scored, which we were talking about on this program last week, how Brock Purdy might actually hurt Ayuk. Doesn't seem to. So
George Kittle disappointed again.
Why don't you go ahead and talk about that real quick?
So there's a couple things. Like, yeah, he's the ass of the week, but I also question like Mike Evans, the offense in general, because like usually if the man has a bad game, he has one bad game, and then the very next week he shuts everybody up and he shuts them up for several games after that. I've never seen him before where he can have consecutive shitty games like he has been this season.
Yeah, everybody falls off that cliff.
But what I thought was really interesting too is that he's the screaming at everybody. I don't really understand. I don't know where you're going with that, buddy. But he's the screaming. But then what I thought was interesting at the end of the game, as he's saying, shaking hands with everybody, these guys on the 49ers, they're stopping him and asking for his autograph on their jerseys. And I'm like, how old are you, dude, that you got your ass kicked? And they're like asking for your autograph after they whooped your ass. And he's like, yeah, good job.
All right, so Lauren, let me ask you a question.
He sounds like a dad. He's like, good job, guys.
Let me ask you a question. And I don't know if you even saw this or not. This is totally on topic, but off topic. So Nelly Korda is the best women's golfer in the world. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
She's American. She's a young kid. She's 23 years old or whatever. Her and her sister are fantastic, but she's the number 1 player in the world.
Okay.
She saw and participated in a tournament with Tiger Woods. Right?
I hope she beat him.
So no. She goes up and asks, like, excuse me, Tiger, like this shy little girl. Excuse me, Tiger, I'm sorry to bother you. Can I get your autograph? What's the difference?
I think it's because he just got his ass whooped and he's trying to like get off the field. Watching the video is it's the way he addresses them too. Because he's like, you know what? He's talking to them like he's their coach too. He's like, you did a great job today. Like
he's daddy.
All right, so
exactly. He sat with the father.
But if you think about it, for dudes like that though, they don't. All right, so Brock Purdy, and I'm trying to remember the date.
What is wrong with
I was watching
Evans?
the telecast. Brock Purdy has never known a football world without Tom Brady.
He was like
right.
a fetus.
He was like 6 months old when Tom Brady played his first game.
Yeah.
So even if these dudes, he's 22. So you got to figure, even if these dudes are 28, 29 years old, when you really think about the first time you think about football, you were probably 8 or 9 years old. Brady. They don't know football without Brady.
But I guess
ever.
I feel bad for him then that he's having these really shitty games and he's walking off this field to these guys that just whooped his ass, and they're like, that's got to be an awful feeling.
But they also don't make players aren't like the Pistons Bulls playoffs back in the day where you just walk off the court early and don't shake hands. Everybody Instagramming and trading jerseys and they know each other.
Right.
There are no true rivals where I'd be like,
I'm sure,
I hate this guy. It's maybe Marshawn Lattimore and Mike Evans. That's about it. That's the most vicious rivalry.
How about Tom Brady and Mike Evans?
Do you guys think he goes to another team next year and he turns it around, or do you think he's on the decline? No, Brady. Evans, I don't.
No, Brady's retired.
Brady's done.
Brady's coming back.
I don't think he's going to retire.
Brady's coming back to Tampa Bay.
All right, so hey, you guys.
I think he's coming back too.
I want to talk about 2 more games before EJ comes on. We gotta talk about, and I want to say the anti-ass of the week, just because he's been given so much shit. And you guys may roll your eyes a little bit. What a job Baker Mayfield did after 48 hours of preparation, looking at the playbook on a plane, leading the Rams to a win. The dude's timing with these receivers was amazing, just based on the little bit amount of time, one practice he had. I just got to give some props to that. And that game was actually entertaining to watch.
It was. You see, here's the thing with Baker, and I'll be really fast, is that Baker, when he doesn't have time to prepare and get into his head, when he just plays, when Baker just plays, he's a really good quarterback. Next week, whoever the hell he's playing this coming week, he's not going to have a great game. Or no, because he has like 11 days. He's in Green Bay
on Monday night.
But it doesn't matter. You know what?
That's not going to be good.
No, but I think if Baker would have played Green Bay as his first game, only having 48 hours of prep, I think he would have had a much better game than if he had 11 days to prepare. He's going to
the dude had 220, right? So look, and he got the dub, right? He threw the last second touchdown to Van Jefferson.
All that matters.
In the end zone. You gotta feel good for
respect.
The dude. Even Jeff, I know you hate the guy. You gotta give some credit to the dude.
You gotta give him. He gets his stripes. He gets.
Now I want to talk about the game that everybody wants to talk about, or everybody wanted to talk about anyway. Is man, oh man, did the Texans almost beat the Cowboys?
Would
that not have been the most fun you guys have had all year?
Not the way I set my DFS lineups. It wasn't.
You would have sucked in.
Look,
that's the definition of looking past a team.
Man.
Look, they
look past your team.
I think if they lost that game, I believe Jerry would have died this week.
Man,
Jerry would have died.
It would have been one of my favorite things I've seen in sports in Arlington for the 1-10-1 Texans to come in and beat.
I don't think that was the game last week.
No. It was just fun to watch.
It was a
fun. I was going to say,
it was a good game.
Can I make one quick comment before EJ comes on, just unrelated?
Please do.
I just want to send for us four and the football family, the football community worldwide, prayers of respect to Mike Leach's family.
Oh, man.
Yeah, passed away, heart attack, obviously, we all know. What a horrible thing. So, our thoughts to the Mississippi State family, to his family. We're thinking about you.
Yeah, no doubt.
And also you too, Brittany.
Man, he was like the soundbite that you wanted to hear on SportsCenter.
He was right. The air raid. He was awesome.
Man, so yes, he was an innovator as far as offense goes in the college game, and the dude was just funny as hell on the mic. And from all accounts, he's just a great guy.
Streams of consciousness. Whatever came in his head went out his mouth. No censor, no filter. Loved it.
When when that on the field reporter asked what he thought about the officiating, he was like, I don't know. You tell me. You're watching the same game. You tell me what you think.
Oh man,
so that was pretty fun. Ferg, is that a Dolphins flask, bro?
He's had that for a while.
Yeah. I didn't notice.
At least 31 minutes.
Right. I didn't notice it. Hey, Danye, whenever EJ gets on, let us know, and we can go ahead and let him in. So until then, you know what, Ferg? What a better way to lead us in than talk about your Dolphins. So I'll let you have the floor here. You tell us whatever you want to tell us.
Jeff Wilson sucks ass.
I mean, Jeff Wilson sucks panda balls.
Fucking hate him. I'm sorry. I hate him.
Tua was ass. I mean, there's no other way to cut it.
It's not ass.
Hold on.
Let's talk about Tyreek.
There was a point in this game Sunday where Tua was 3 of 17.
Okay, but that's not. He's not ass.
He doesn't. He was ass. He was ass. You don't get credit for the backwards fumble that Tyreek ran in. You do get credit for the 14 times that you missed Tyreek though, running right down the seam, wide open. You missed Waddle. You won't throw the ball at the second. I don't know if that's game plan or y'all got beat. You will not throw
brain injuries on. No, he's not. It's like a bad game. He's played
on the field
well this season.
You're good. You're 100%. If you're playing, you're 100%.
No, I would turn that. No, dude. The Vikings, I'll give you, but not like. Come on.
They're about to become typical Miami.
All right, so I just wanted to bring it up while we were waiting on EJ to.
Can I give my award though?
He has joined us. He is backstage. But Berg, I am sorry about your boys, man. I'm not a hater. And
I am. I'm a hater.
No, definitely not a hater. I mean, I was a Justin Herbert fan and Mike Williams fan on Sunday night, but that's about all I got.
I don't even hate. I just don't even talk about my boys anymore.
Yeah, no, I get it, Lauren. And so let's speaking of football and my boys, let's bring on EJ Danye.
Hey,
what up?
Wilson, what's happening, my guy?
Nothing much, man. What's going on? Sorry, I was so late. I was putting a late minute entry into the draw for the Travis Scott. So
no doubt, do your thing, bro. All right, so EJ, before we get any further, man, from bottom right up around, you got Lauren. Here, she's a Who Dat Nation, as you see.
But a big fan of yours, though, too, sir.
I appreciate that. I
think you can tell Ferg's allegiance at this point. That's Big Jeff up here with the Dolphin shit. And Ian is a Phillies guy, or he's a Philly guy. So
I'm a Cleveland guy transplanted.
Well, yes. So, all right. So EJ, man, I appreciate you, my guy, for being on. I know we talked earlier, and we don't really have any limits, but as I said, we don't talk too much crazy shit. So we're just gonna talk to you a little bit today. If you want to talk about some fantasy stuff, man, we're all in for that too, bro. Like we already.
Man, I started a work league this year, and I'm not even in the playoffs, so let's not talk fantasy.
No.
I'm not the expert I once thought I was.
So, all right, so let's start this off. So, EJ, former UNC legend down there, defensive tackle down at Carolina for college, got drafted by the Seahawks, 4th round, and then his career got cut short by some Achilles injuries and whatnot. So we'll discuss a little bit about that, man. So to EJ, tell us a little bit about you, man. Tell us what you're doing, man. What's going on?
Well, I'm a Scorpio. No.
Hey,
walks in the park and Cabernet on ice.
So let's pause.
Dim the light.
Exactly.
Dim the light.
Give me some mood music, man.
EJ and I are brothers from another mother. We actually had the same birthday.
Exactly. So, I forgot about that.
Man. Yeah, so we were on the golf course.
When's your birthday?
So that was
October 28th.
Okay.
We squeaked in about 4 days.
Yeah,
Lauren trying to act like she didn't know this was an all Scorpio show.
EJ's a little bit younger.
Jeff, your birthday's by Vanna, and my entire my 2 sisters are all the first week in November, plus my mom. Yeah, it's all Scorpios.
Yep.
Terrible.
I'm an Aquarius.
Yeah, no, this is
no.
So EJ and I actually we bonded a little bit that day on the golf course, bourbon and whatnot, and missed shots that were the same. So anyway, so EJ, man, I appreciate you joining us, brother. So let us know, man, what's going on with you these days?
Nothing much, man. Just grinding. I'm glad I'm coming up to this 2-week vacation. I've actually been commiserating over my Tar Heels football season. I do a podcast for Inside Carolina, which has caused some controversy because we dare to be honest. Imagine that in today's time. We dare to be honest. So, I mean, it's been a whirlwind, man. I mean, I'm excited in some places, not so excited in some places, but I am glad that the NFL playoffs are about to start, so I can move focus away from what's been going on in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, man, bro. You and I could talk about that for hours.
Oh yeah. It's a bad situation.
All right, so
I would just like to point out that in 2016, Villanova beat UNC in the finals. So
this man,
somebody
mute him. Somebody mute him.
Isn't it Hanukkah present?
A wise man once told me you can polish a turd, but it's still a turd. So
man, I'm a turd. Look, I've known EJ for 3 minutes. I'm already a turd.
I can dish and take it.
So, Ian, let me tell you just one little tidbit for the rest of our football show with no name careers. There are 2 things you don't talk about on this show. One of them is Allen Robinson. The other one is the 2016.
He did it.
The other one is the 2016 national championship game.
Chris Jenkins, baby. Chris Jenkins.
As a UNC fan, that game is Voldemort. It's just we don't speak about it.
I just moved to this area like around that time, and I'm like, okay,
this is not something that we talk about. This is not.
I got to get my therapist on the line.
It is
respect for our guest. I will not mention that for the next.
It is my biggest sports heartbreak. To this day, my biggest sports heartbreak, and it replaced the 97 and 98 teams. So that took a lot because I'm old. EJ's a little bit younger than me. So
EJ, is that your biggest sport heartbreak?
Ooh, that's a good
2016.
Okay, hold on. EJ, let's split this up a second. Let's split this up. Let's split this up as a participant and a fan.
There you go.
As a fan, it was the Duke game, 2012, the first game where we lost the bell to Duke. Yeah. That's as a spectator, that's probably been my biggest hurt. As a player, it was one of the 3 losses that we took to NC State. Probably my senior year, 2009, was probably the biggest heartbreak I've taken as a person because that's the only game I really feel like the refs took one away from us. But we won't get too deep into that.
Well, you also weren't involved in the 2015 ACC championship game.
Yeah, I was there, but you know what? I did almost get frostbite that game, so I feel like I suffered as much.
I always wonder about that, like how cold. Like I know you guys get off the sidelines, they got the heaters and the coats and stuff, but that has to be so damn cold to be on that field. Like the guys in Buffalo, like how do you even do that?
Adrenaline. It's pure adrenaline. When you're on the field, you really don't feel it. Like we played in Notre Dame in 2006, my freshman year. Yeah, and exactly. It's like it's in the middle of November. You got that lake effect weather coming in, so that was probably the coldest game. And honestly, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I was just a stud. I wasn't playing much that game, but honestly, I still wasn't that. I still didn't get that cold. So it's mostly adrenaline and some other secrets us players have that I don't know what the rating is of the show, but maybe I don't want to talk about
they're experts.
Well, some players take to urinating on themselves on the sidelines just to keep themselves warm. But you know what? In the middle of war, you got to do what you got to do.
I'm going to scratch that off my bucket question list that I had.
That's
I've always wanted to ask.
I used to love football.
Do they just fucking piss out on the field?
For sure.
They don't have that. I watch them. Like these guys don't even put. Like some of the quarterbacks have like their long sleeve shirts on, but these defensive, guys are just stand out there with your damn like shirts ripped off. Like it is too cold.
All right, think about it like this: it's 3rd and 1. The game's on the line. You just drank a bunch of Gatorade. You got to pee. Are you coming out of that game, or you just let me go right there?
No.
Taking a piss?
No.
Right
I played rugby.
Is
so
this like some kind of super Nike wicking fiber that keeps the piss from just like shooting straight out? Like you don't ever see like 22 dudes on the field.
It's layers. The only thing that saves us is layer. Another weird story is I did see one of my opponents pee on the field. You can see a little stream coming out. It's kind of weird, and I mean, I won't say the name of the school we played, but it's an ACC school based in Durham. So,
hey EJ, you know what? I will tell you, EJ, You have successfully done in your 9 minutes on this show what nobody else in this show has been able to do in years, which is render me speechless.
Hey, so look, EJ, there is something that Ian would like to talk to you about. He actually texted us before the show. But I do want to address something real quick that EJ, you can't, I don't know if you can see the comments on the right side of your screen, or if that's just an us thing.
Watch out, Eric.
But Eric, we need to address this real quick. So EJ, if you cannot see, Eric is a Wolfpack fan. So what I am going to say to Mr. Richardson here, and I want to be as sincere as possible, and I wish we had some like classical backdrop music that we could play on this. So that
we gotta get that.
Okay. So let's say some things real quick. So Eric, I'm so glad that you watch our show.
Put it on, right? Eric or EJ.
So glad that you watch our show. So after tonight, I will give you this because this is the first show that we've had since this unfortunate incident has happened, and you've been on watching this, that Carolina lost to NC State. I'm going to give you this episode and this night. After tonight, you have to go back to being a State fan, please. Right? So that means y'all have to bring hardware to the triangle before you can talk
Eric,
shit.
ask him who came in last place in the show league. Ask him.
Look, we're talking about college athletics. Miss Lauren. Look,
Daniel put it up.
Lauren's trifling.
All right, so in fairness, I know Eric Richardson here. Mr. Richardson, I think he's a State fan because he resides in the area.
That doesn't matter.
His true heart is he's a Winston-Salem State fan. He is a true Winston-Salem State Ram.
And that's okay.
So this is his adopted team. So you're allowed to talk shit about your adopted team.
No, I don't even think that's true.
Yes.
All right. Well,
because again, an individual cross-country national championship does not count in the national championships that you bring.
They count in like the Capital One Cup race or something.
It used to be the Sears Cup. Honestly,
I don't know.
No, seriously, you know what? Like the individual, I think they're like a fraction of the point. Like if it was like a team cross-country win, then you get points towards that. I don't think you get much for the individual championship.
No, it does not. Not in my eyes. So the
strikes.
last thing they won is the national championship in basketball when Jim Valvano was the coach.
83.
To my calendar, that's 39 fucking years. So we can have a conversation once something else gets.
Which is almost as long as it's been since the Dallas Cowboys have won a championship.
Okay, so I have a question for EJ. I'm going to jump in and interrupt Ian.
Yeah, please do. Jeez.
You got to tell me what you think about Tom Brady in this season, because I've been like, he's my ass of the week, but I also I've been a Pats fan. I'm a Saints fan, but I've also been a Pats fan since like the late 90s. So it hurts me to see the man. Do you think that it's like this is it for him, or do you think it's just like because he usually bounces back like the next week?
I will. So I'll start this by giving my opinion, then I'll give you like what my true opinion about me. Tom and I have a very interesting relationship, and not that I know him or anything, but as far as what's going on with him this season, like Tom Brady's Superman, but at the end of the day, this man just divorced his wife. Like his family split up. Like people, and this is something that I like to talk about on my podcast. People don't understand when it comes to sports. You're basically watching reality TV for men. Like I mean, and for women as well, but it's more so catered to what we care about. Like, how is your performance every day? For men personally, we carry a lot of stuff that we deal with to work every day, and it honestly perfects our performance. So when we see these athletes who are highly tuned, like it's very interesting for us to tune in and see how they handle these situations. And to see Tom Brady, I honestly became a bigger Tom Brady fan to kind of see him have some struggles this season, because it shows, hey, this man is human, and there is something that can come in and affect him. It's not anything the media is going to say. It's not going to be any injuries on his team. It's not going to be a lack of talent, but what's going on at home. So I mean, I honestly still think Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. But I mean, we have to give that guy some grace. Yes, we're used to seeing greatness from him, but at the end of the day, he's human, and we couldn't expect this man to come out after years of him not wanting to retire because it being back and forth because of the pressure that he's getting from his wife. At the end of the day, we all knew that she was going to be tired of it one day, and I think that this is what happened. And now that Tom's made that decision, he has to continue playing.
You think he's coming back next year too?
He has to for his legacy. If you made the choice to blow up your family to continue playing football, you can't go out with the type of season that you're having.
Exactly, and he won't go out like that. Exactly. He's not going to go on a losing season.
Oh, for sure. And my interesting Tom Brady story is, so when I was playing for the Bucks, I actually tore my Achilles sacking Tom Brady. I had his jersey in my hand. Logan Mankin's horse collared me. Another guy fell on me, and this is when I was playing for the Bucks. So my wife and I went down to for our anniversary a couple of years ago, and there's a big billboard of Tom Brady right at the end zone where I tore my Achilles. So that's it. So
Tom Brady. That's awesome. It's not awesome, but it's awesome.
The cool thing
awesome
about it is
wrong word. That's like
it's a cool story.
Oh yeah, for sure. The cool thing about that was really like practicing with him all week, because what you realize is that Belichick isn't the guy that brings the hammer; it's Tom. So like Gerard Mayo is going back and forth with one of our offensive linemen. So Tom Brady's not even in. He just said, "Shut the F up and play ball." Everybody shut up. Even our sideline, we shut up just for the respect we have for the guy. So, I mean, when you seen that in person, you have to give that guy grace and say, hey, exactly. Yeah, he's going to have one. I mean, this is one bad season out of like 45. I mean, the first quarter, he started his first game against Y.A. Tittle, I think. So, I mean, the guy's been playing forever.
Old as shit.
EJ, you're stupid, bro.
That's
old.
All right, that's okay. Ian, let's get into what you wanted to talk about real quick.
Thank you. I really appreciate hearing your thoughts on that, because it's been bugging me.
Oh yeah, no problem.
So I mean, obviously, EJ, in preparing, for you to be on it, did a little research, did my due diligence. So
Smart
I mean,
guy.
it's a well-known fact that the average NFL career is like 5 years, like max. Most, Tom Brady is the anomaly by 9. Like that doesn't happen.
3 years or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So like EJ, yours was obviously shorter. You were you had some injuries, but I'm really interested in that, in your opinion and just what your life is now. In that most football players in the league now leave school early, and leave without a degree. And you got your degree, sports sciences, I believe. How has that worked for you? How has that been like the benefit for you that your NFL career didn't work out as all of us would have hoped it was, but you've got that education, you've got that degree, and you have a life after football, whereas a lot of players today, don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they're going to be the next, Troy Aikman, and be the next Tony Romo and get lucky and fall into the broadcasting booth. But you got that degree, and your life took a totally different path. So I'm interested, in hearing your feelings, your opinions on education as well as football.
This is the favorite question I've ever been asked, because this really allows like me to give a glimpse into like what I like me as a person. So when I was coming through school, I was always a younger kid. I skipped a year of school. I was always grades. That's what happened in my household. It was grades. I was a 4.0. I actually graduated number 3 in my class from high school as a 17-year-old kid. So football was never important to me. I had a chance to go to Virginia Tech, UVA, and Michigan, some of the real football powerhouses. But I looked back and I said, you know what? The University of North Carolina degree is a degree that's going to get me further in life. I could imagine underwater basket weaving, and I would have had a job waiting for me as being a UNC athlete. And that's what I don't think a lot of these kids realize, which, side note, also frustrates me about this whole NIL deal, because these kids don't realize what the value of a Carolina degree they're giving up. So I've always been an advocate for education. Coach Davis told me my junior year, if you work this hard on the field as you did in the classroom, you be an All-American.
All right, so let's Butch Davis.
Coach Davis, Butch Davis,
that we're talking about. Okay.
So education was always the first for me. Going into college, I wanted to major in biology. I got a C on a biology test, and I called my parents crying, telling them that I don't think I could handle college because I was just so used to getting A's and B's. So football was always secondary to me. And that's the attitude I think that me and a lot of my teammates took. You see, a lot of my teammates now, even though we went to a liberal arts school, a lot of us are working in commercial real estate because we understand that the things that made us strong in football, as far as being punctual, I'm able to handle a larger workload and all these other things. These are the things that people value. So coming into college, being a 2-star recruit that I was, and being around the other 2-star recruits that were from small rural areas, all we really knew was to work hard and the grind. And we saw many of our teammates drop an opportunity because, I mean, just think about the guys. Like I came in with Cam Thomas, Brandon Tate. Like Brandon Tate's the NCAA record holder. We were 2-star recruits, Exactly. We believed in each other, and we knew that. And Brandon was a guy that didn't redshirt and still left with a degree from the University of North Carolina because that's what we believed in. Like it wasn't a thing that the coaches had to sell us on. Like we were kids who came from areas whose parents our whole lives are telling us that football is great, but use that to get better in your lives. And I think that's been a benefit. I think that's what's hurting a lot of kids these days. These kids, since they were 7 years old, have been in training programs and have had people telling them they're great and have people sponsoring them and basically paving the way for them. When I got to UNC, Granville Towers was the biggest building I've ever seen in my life. So to have that type of attitude, I brought that attitude to everything. Like it's so academics school was the easy part for me. Football was always the hard part for me.
And let's not get this twisted. You weren't bad on the football field, my guy.
Yeah, I mean, it ended up working out because I feel like if I just learned some simple logistics, it'll work out for me. But I mean, I was always a student first, and even to this day, like I mean, when I was in 1996, when I got encyclopedias for Christmas because that's exactly what I asked my parents for. Like, I've always been that kid. I've always been that person, and I think that's what allowed us. Like you think about it, like I'm a 2-star recruit, 6'2", 270-pound kid coming from Emporia, Virginia. I got Quentin Cobles, who's an eventual first-round pick who I had to keep off of my back for 2 years. Robert Quinn playing on the other side of me, first-round pick. Marvin Austin, #1 player in the country. Like, these are guys I had to hold my own against. So once they got to campus, like, okay, I can't just do the status quo anymore. I got to apply the same effort to football. So
y'all had 1 year together, right? You and Marvin Austin?
Marvin and I had 2 years. I played with Marvin every year he played at Carolina. I'll put it
right. Yeah.
So I'm the only strong side defensive end he knows.
Y'all were big motherfuckers right there.
You know, and you know what?
Yes, bro.
Oh yeah.
EJ, the other question that I have is, and I actually read this just this afternoon, that in your 1 year in Tampa, I think you got hurt. What, the second preseason game it was
against New England.
Against New England,
yeah.
you were scheduled to, line up with or compete head to head with Gerald McCoy.
Yeah.
Do you ever sit back and think and get stuck in the what ifs? Like, this was a stud, that could have been me. My career could have been that superstar. Or does it really just not matter?
It does. It really doesn't, because what I value is the relationships. I can pick up the phone right now and call Gerald McCoy. And
call him to come on this show.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that matters. Like it's the fact that I spent so many years thinking oh man, I've been so far away from the game. Like, these guys don't want to hear from me. I text Gerald one day randomly because I saw he had signed with the Panthers, and he called me. He was like, "Man, how you been?" So the thing is, for me, I will never have any regrets because everywhere I've been myself, and I've been my true, authentic self. And I have a track record of people who are connected to me. Like, Cam Chancellor and I were together for a few minutes in Seattle, and we're already trying to plan a golf trip to go on. Like, I stay in contact with all. Yeah, hey, I already knew. I've been meaning to tell you about this one. So yeah, so I mean,
network.
So I mean, so for the one thing where I don't feel like I really don't miss the NFL is because our team and our brotherhood and camaraderie was so strong at UNC that when you get to the NFL, it's like coworkers. But when I was in Tampa playing with Jared, first of all, I was never competing with Jared. Gerald, people don't understand that I think Gerald McCoy is one of the best defensive tackles that ever played a game of football, from a technique standpoint, from an intensity standpoint, from the legacy he left, from how he interacted with his teammates, to what people don't realize, his help in developing Levante David, who's now one of the best outside linebackers in the NFL.
No doubt.
I was competing to give Gerald a break. I told Gerald, I said, if I make this team and I play 4 snaps a game and you're a Pro Bowler, I did my job because I pushed you to keep me off of the field. And that's the type of thing that's not on most NFL teams. That's why when you see the NFL teams that are winning are groups that have been together for a long time. The Bills are so good is because Jared Allen has been there, and they have a lot of holdovers and stalwarts there. The Minnesota Vikings are good randomly this year because they've had the same quarterback and running back and wide receivers there for a while. They've had the same core group. That's why the Patriots so good. So I understand what Gerald was trying to build in Tampa. So I never feel like what ifs, because at the end of the day, I can walk into a meeting full of 15 commercial real estate brokers and say, hey, I played football at the University of North Carolina. They say, hey, I graduated from Carolina this year and this year and this year. So at the end of the day, my goal was to play football in the ACC. Is to get a degree from the University of Carolina. So I don't have any regrets about anything. Everything else is just a cherry on top of the pie, man.
Well, if I can brag on you for a second, you're also a different dude.
Yeah, right? I'm built a little
different. You're a nice guy.
Hey, can I jump in here for a second? I just wanted to ask a question. I mean, I have I did my little homework too, like Ian. I do some homework every now and then, but I knew who you were because I knew that you were part of the Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, Russell Okung draft, the Legion of Boom. Really, it's some other drafts that Seattle had.
We were the foundation.
2010 is the foundation of everything that Seattle is still talking about here.
He's grabbing something.
There
you go.
Hey,
there you go.
So when you think about just getting to that moment right there, like I said, we should give these people their roses while they are here. People may not realize, like, you see the NFL draft and you hear about these first round dudes, and people might not realize, like you got drafted 2 rounds ahead of Antonio Brown, Marshall Newhouse. Like, you're in the same draft with Cam Chancellor. Like, you're legit. I mean, and you're talking about an Achilles, something just like that. So as you're 9-10 years old, you say you're from Emporia, that's like a small place like where I'm from, and you're 2-star, and what do you have to do? What is your thought process as far as football? Because I know you said academics was first, but are we just that good? Is it just I'm naturally this good, or do I actually put some effort in to not be from the 6A Texas school, 4A North Carolina school, to get to a North Carolina? Because normally guys from places like we're from, you get this one guy might go to college. Everybody else is either a HBCU or a never was. They never become a never was. So what would you tell the next EJ who's sitting in Emporia? This is what you got to do to at least just get to this point.
That's a really good question.
You have to, and I'll start off with this, and I'll tell another story. I hope I'm not taking over the time, but I'm going to tell you I'm full of stories, man.
It's all you.
So the first thing I'll say is that my goal was never to make it to the NFL, and even when I was in high school, it was never to make it to college. It was to be the best me that I possibly could be. And I know that sounds corny, but at the end of the day, if every day I'm getting better and I'm better than the day I was, eventually I'm going to get to the point where you're going to have to start mentioning me with a lot of these guys that are going to be elite. And the benefit I had is that I played in a basketball program that's statewide known. You guys may not remember Brian Stitt that played at UVA.
Come on now.
I went to his high school. He was one of my mentors. I had 1,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, state champion. So let's let that be known. So I had a lot of notoriety from basketball. So it wasn't until my senior year people was like, oh, the guy that got all-state basketball plays football too. So it was me trying to be better, not just in that. It was academically, it was football, it was basketball, and it was just all these different things. So, I mean, I've always been motivated by no. When I was younger, people would say, like, oh, man, like, you're never going to play varsity basketball. I was a 4-year starter. Well, it doesn't matter. You're never going to go play Division I sports. I was a 4-year letterman, 3-year starter at UNC. Well, that's all fine and good, but you're never going to play in the NFL. Draft pick. One of my coaches told me, so when I got to UNC, I was positionless. I was one of those ATH athlete recruits. So when I got to campus, I was playing linebacker. I hated it. One of my favorite coaches on the staff now, me and him didn't get along, Tommy Thigpen. I love the guy to death now, but we didn't get along at first. Simply because he saw something in me that I really didn't really see. So I played linebacker. Then when we go to the training camp, I'm playing tight end all during the season. So they didn't want to redshirt me So they said, how about you play defensive end over the tight end and give him a look? It came to a point where I was dominating the tight ends. So during the spring, they moved me to fullback. My coach told me I was the first fullback in ACC history, and he was going to help me transfer because he didn't think I could help the program. Well, the guy that recruited, it wasn't in a negative way. He wasn't saying it to be negative. He didn't say that in front of anybody. He literally pulled me to the side because he knew he was moving on from UNC after that season, and he wanted to take me with him and find a different position because he liked me. So it wasn't like that wasn't like a traumatizing thing. That just realized that's when I was like, okay, people, he's not saying this because I'm bad. It's just that we can't find a position for me in the system that this school runs. So my coach that recruited me, Kenny Brown, who's the greatest recruiter in college football history, I think personally. I might be biased. Who knows?
I don't know.
So might be.
I don't know if you're biased or not, EJ.
So he said, you're going to be like defensive end. So imagine a 16-year-old kid. I played quarterback and wide receiver in high school. I averaged 32 yards a catch my senior year, which at the time was a record.
Were you throwing it to yourself, bro? Like, what are you
no, we found a quarterback somewhere. So he said, you have the frame to grow into a defensive end. And I was like, nah, man, I haven't done that since I was too heavy to carry the ball. So after all that, he says, before you transfer, come give defensive end a try. And I ended up my redshirt freshman year, playing more snaps than anybody else on the defensive line and went on there from letter. And so, and let's take it a little further than that. When I was 7 years old, I got hit in the head with a baseball bat. A few years later, got hit by a car. Next couple years later after that, I had an accident so tragic that they told me when I was 11 years old, if I ever broke my pinky again, I'd have to get it amputated. I went on to play football for 14 years after that. So I haven't, a lot of people see me and see my attitude now, well, Clint knows a little bit better than anybody the general attitude I put up, other than what I'm dealing with. So I try to put positivity out there. Absolutely. And people think, oh, you're a college athlete, you played in the pros, things must have been easy. No, I've chosen to kind of see things differently and persevere through some of the tougher things. So the road hasn't been that's why I can't have any regrets. I mean, when you're going through so much of those different type of things, you can't have any regrets. I mean, if I played 5 minutes in the NFL, I almost died a few times. So I mean, that's definitely overachieving.
You know what I mean? Look,
so I got a question for you on that, playing in the NFL. This is a much easier question though. What does it feel like the first time? How loud is it actually standing on that field in Seattle? And what does that feel like the first time you walk out there as a rookie in front of all those people? What is that? That has to be the coolest feeling.
It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying.
Terrifying.
Yeah, because
are you kidding me, bro? There's 80,000 people there.
Seattle, when you see it on TV, but people don't realize that they muffle that so much on TV. It's to the point. I've been on the sideline and I felt like the bench shaking and helmets shaking on the bench. It's crazy. Really? Seattle's, and even in New Orleans, it's a different type of loud because it's a piercing loud. That it hurts in that stadium. So that's their advantage. But I mean, it's just crazy. But honestly, I knew I wasn't going to be playing the NFL that long when I didn't get that same shiver as I did the 38th time I walked out to the field on Kenan Stadium, as opposed to the first time. It just wasn't. Yeah, I didn't feel like I was going to war with people I struggle with every day, and that's what college is. You struggle with the same guys every day, and then you get to go out there on Saturday and put on nice gear and beat up on somebody else.
What does that feel like to walk out and hear all those fans in at UNC?
Oh my God, it's something now that I even still get emotional about. If I go to a game live, because I know when you work so hard, when you've been in class all day and you've had you just took a foul or you didn't want to take, or you had a bad day at a test, or you've been in practice all week going against an All-American and he's been kicking your butt. But when you get to the game, everything seems easy now. That's the only thing you think about. The only thing you think about is the people that you don't People's oh, I played this game for my mom. And no, you're thinking about the people that you're out there with. At the end of the day, those people are guiding you, but there's not there's no brother fraternities. The only thing I can think that could rival the brotherhood and the feelings that you get is people in the military. That's the only thing that I think could rival the feeling of playing college football on a team with someone.
Here's a question. So two-parter, real quick. One, I'm just curious. When you go back on campus, are you recognized? And two, have you ever had the honor, the privilege of going into the UNC locker room after your career and speaking to the team pregame, postgame, during the week? Because I can just see, just by the way that you speak, just
You're super inspirational.
That motivation is just there.
I do speak to some guys sometimes, and so my rookie year, I think, man, maybe one of the first few games, they asked me, they said, we want you to come back. So I don't do it in an official capacity because, I mean, just going from my opinion when I was there, sometimes those guys you bring in, you don't feel them, like you don't get that same connection. As to the point, if I was to pull a guy to the side and say, hey, man, I've been in this situation, like, so I'll be honestly, I have 2 different reputations at UNC. None of them bad. One is the guy that the students know, which is the partier, the guy that honestly, so like I was just like a regular student, like I was a social person. And then you have the guy on the team who, when it came to football, yeah, I joked around, but I was a super serious person. So people definitely recognize me. I wouldn't say, probably not a lot of the younger generation, but people who are watching the game, people who are still there in the program, like there's still like murals up in pictures up in the stadium of me, like, and I still try to stay involved. Like I'll put this for instance, and kind of crossing over to kind of the world that me and Clint met each other in. When I was working for an engineer, we had a project, which is the Eddie Smith Fieldhouse, which a lot of people don't know about, which is the first indoor facility where track, wrestling, every sport touched that facility except for basketball. Jackie Field was the director of that. We did some speed. She was a track coach. We did some speed training. I went one day and had my engineering company do a presentation for them. And once they were done, I sat in the room and they told me what was going to be in the RFP before it went out. And then when you walk into the interview stage, I'm not shaking hands. I'm hugging people because these are people that I've known for over 10 years. So when you're a Tar Heel, man, it's different because like it doesn't matter if you. I was at the tailgate ACC championship game with one of my friends who was a walk-on, and a guy knew exactly who he was. Like, so it's people can say what they want about our fans, but they know who we are.
People don't get that. You know what I'm saying? People don't get the Carolina family thing. They might like balk at it, be like, "Oh, that's dumb, that's lame." But like, okay, well, it's real. So I mean, it's and it's
Lauren,
definitely
what I heard was that Carolina was full of nepotism and insider trading. That's what I just heard right there. I didn't hear all that other inspirational shit that they was talking about.
DJ.
I heard some other shit.
Let's stay on you real quick. Real quick. You were on the Connor Barth team, right?
All right, I got one question because I know we got to wrap this up.
I got to make my point real quick.
Well, you got to ask him about the Super Bowl too.
So EJ. So Mr. Jeff here is a diehard Carolina basketball fan, but he is also a diehard Miami Hurricanes football fan. And Ferg and I were in the stands together when Connor hit that field goal.
I was in the stands too. I was on a recruiting visit then, and that was absolutely amazing. At that moment, I knew I wanted to come. So I mean,
thank you, Connor Barth.
Jeff, as you being a Hurricanes fan, like that doesn't offend me as much because the only Hurricane team I lost to was the Greg Olsen, John Beeson. I mean, who doesn't lose to that Miami team? I mean, Calais Campbell. So I mean, well, other than that, I mean. Yeah. I'm 3-1 against Miami, so I mean.
So EJ, you were on
Who
the Hawks.
Isn't 3-1 against us in the last 30 years?
EJ, you were on the Hawks in 2010, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you have a ring?
I do not. I was done. I was working for my financial advisor at the time, and we represented some people on the Seahawks. So I was in New York for that Super Bowl, and honestly, I couldn't tell that I wasn't on the team because I was hanging with all the guys I got drafted with, all the guys that were on that team. Marshawn Lynch and I got to Seattle at the same time. So my penalty, my rookie penalty was I had to drive Marshawn around after the games and be his designated driver. But people don't realize that Marshawn's not a big drinker. So me and him were just driving and talking, and I was just learning a lot.
I bet he's hilarious.
Marshawn is the chauffeur. He's one of the best people I know. But let's talk about this. I was driving around in Seattle in a Porsche Panamera with 28-inch rims on it, so it wasn't exactly easy either. I wouldn't dare try to drive that car if I was not sober. I don't.
So let me say this: we need another show just with you and Marshawn Lynch stories, just from that car run, bro. Like it's
oh yeah,
talk about
that's good. That is
on the next episode. Now for this night's purposes, like I don't want to keep you more than 10 minutes, man, but 10 more minutes. But I do have a question for you. A question that I want to ask, and it may lead into something else. But you mentioned earlier when you first came on about your podcast, right? So I want to circle back to this. I want to give you a chance. I want to know, right? And I want the people to know what's going on. So your podcast was great. It was one of my favorites. It was in the trenches. It was every Sunday morning after the Carolina football games on Saturday. You guys broke shit down. And here's the thing about, and I'm going to say this publicly. I think it's the first time I've said this publicly. Maybe I said it to you the Carolina Inside family. I love all the podcasts. They are super negative a lot. So they're very different from the Inside Carolina or the Carolina Insider family. The Inside Carolina family is a lot negative. And EJ and his show tried to change the narrative, right? And so every week I would listen to EJ's show. And then it was canceled. And I found out it was canceled when EJ and I were meeting on the golf course. So that was an interesting conversation. But I want to know, like, number one, what's going on? Number two, I want you to lead that in because it leads in perfectly with what you feel about NIL personally.
So the whole situation was one of my good friend, my best friend, Mike Ingersoll. We played together. Carolina played together in Tampa Bay for the Bucks. We were mentioning that Alabama was putting together a deal for Drake May, which was the absolute truth. They were putting together a deal. Mike knows this because Mike's a litigator for Womble Bond Dickinson, one of the largest law firms in the world. He is an associate there. So he's mingling with people who have substantial play and who make the world run. Probably know some people in the Illuminati, but we won't go conspiracy here. So we mentioned that, and one mentioned that into a woe was me kind of thing. It's like, this guy's so good that somebody he said no to and chose us over them, they're still after him and trying to recruit him.
Decommitted from them. After him, he committed to them.
Decommitted from them. So someone went on the message boards after the Carolina faithful decided that they didn't like what Mike said. And they kind of said, okay, the podcast just won't be there because a lot of people had a lot of things about what we said, which were honest. And at the end of the day, people thought that we were just being pessimistic. But when you literally shed blood for a program and you know what it takes to win, not saying that we were ACC champions or national champions, but our last 2 years there, we won 8 games. And in the Carolina program, that's basically a national championship.
I mean, basically that's championship.
Exactly. Like that was some really good years for our program. So we when we speak, I mean, like, we know these kids. Like, we're not watching this program from afar. We're engaged in this program. We're looking at stats. We know exactly what's going on. And from a time as being players, we know what we're seeing in the stats. Some of those things that what it means. So those are the things we talk about. We're not necessarily talking about X's and O's. We're talking about the mental state and what actually goes on into these games. And so, but I do think that we'll be back next year. We have been kind of saving some things. I did do the pregame show on the radio for Inside Carolina for the ACC championship game. So there never was a situation where there were bad terms between us. It was more so of them was like, okay, our fan base and the people who pay and for our site and keep the lights on in our office have an issue with this. So let's calm it down until we can find a middle ground. And what they found out is that more people than not want to hear what we have to say. So
it's because you're positive. You give a different spin on things. You don't bash everything. You take it and turn it to another thing. I mean, now there are things that you guys are negative about because you need to be negative about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there, and you have actually, I think, said those words on the podcast. We're only negative because they deserve to be negative.
Yeah, we're not gonna we never took an angle where we got personal. So right. I mean,
yeah. I'm glad that everything might work out. So because I'm looking forward to that. Now, how do you feel about NIL? Just briefly, like, how do you feel about NIL as a whole?
It's the Wild Wild West right now. I mean, like the idea and the premise behind it was definitely well sought. But at the end of the day, you're still creating a system of the haves and the haves not. You have places that are big time programs that have. Let's just say we're talking about, and this is just a hypothetical. Papa John's. He's a Louisville guy. He graduated from Louisville. That guy can say, I want to sponsor these kids, and you can throw $3 million at a kid if you want to. And that kid doesn't have to do anything, but you can just say he's a sponsor. It's there's no regulation. And so your Alabamas and all these people who are and even like some of your bookies who are invested in some of these schools winning, those are going to be people to get your money. So the NIL and the transfer portal kind of go hand in hand. There are two things that were created to empower players that I think some people are abusing, and which ties hand in hand to just the culture of sports in general. You have kids now that are being praised at 7 years old as being the next great thing, and they're on TV forever. So I mean, they're like they don't have any loyalty to these schools. They're going where the publicity is. So I am very much in favor of the NIL, but I do think that there needs to be some sort of regulation and some sort of governance on it. I'm not a person that's much for governance, but I'm for the integrity of college sports as honestly one of the most pure things that we still have left. So.
Well, Bubba was on the Carolina Insider, and he said there may be some changes with some regulations coming out in the spring.
It should be less regulated.
So we'll see. We'll see.
It should be free. It should be. If you give me $10 million, I should show up at Michigan and play quarterback. I shouldn't have to do a commercial because that's hold on. If you for 80 years. We have been going to Carolina games and walking past the bookstore, watching these Nike jerseys get sold in here with these dudes. We're only buying this number 5 McKinnis or this Darren Antoine James or this Vince Carter because it's Vince's jersey. And they're not getting a dime off of it. It should be free will. You should be able to transfer in the middle of the season and go to another school and play. Because if you worked in the music department or the science department or anywhere else on this campus, and you said I'm at Carolina, and all of a sudden, hey, the teacher at UNC Charlotte teaches advanced psychological this better than this, I can up and leave. I don't have to tell nobody shit. I don't have to have no ESPN interview or nothing. I can just show up, be at UNC Charlotte. If the registrar or something pulls the string, lets me in, great, I'm in the class. If not, I wait till December. There's no problem. The coaches do it. Coaches do it. Players should be able to do it.
See, I can't get mad at that because that's the exact argument I have when people say that people shouldn't be able to go straight from high school to the NBA. I mean, it's like people get to choose. If somebody knows they want to be a military person for the rest of their life or wants to be a welder, they can go choose that. So when you take that stance, I can't argue with that point.
All right, so here's my last petty point for today
I don't want to go to college all the time.
It's 2022. EJ Wilson is no matter what, 2, 3, 4, 5-star recruit, whatever you want to be. Coaches come to the door. All of these schools, the same schools are recruiting you. What is EJ Wilson's Magic NIL number to get you to sign the line? Push the Carolina degree part apart. We're talking straight dollars. What is the magic number? I'm going here.
Coming from where I come from, if you can get me $1 million over being in the same position I was coming out of high school, if you can promise me $1 million over the lifetime of my college career, whether that be through benefits, housing, cars, jobs, or whatever, if you can promise me $250K a year, I'm there. And I get a free education. I get a free education.
Get rid of the loans. Yeah,
I can dig that. Yeah. You want to hear something crazy that I heard earlier, and this was from a Carolina podcast that I listened to. So in the SEC, so this is just in comparison, the SEC has 21 assistant coaches that make more than $1 million a year.
21. Jesus.
21 assistant coaches that make more than $1 million a year.
Why am I trying to win construction projects?
Alabama has a trainer that makes $1 million.
I don't know. I'm in construction. I feel for you no matter what.
21 assistant coaches that make over $1 million a year. The ACC.
And they're all at Clemson, aren't they?
Probably.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess. Or Florida State.
Oh yeah. That's a whole nother pot of stew that I.
This is what I'm saying. So like, just the money that's involved, and that goes into NIL. You know, the money that's involved all gets funneled into the same shit, right?
But I will say this about ACC schools. There isn't the buy-in from the boosters that you get. There's not the same amount of money.
Basketball, brother.
It's basketball country, and I don't care how good your basketball program is. It's not going to make the money that a football is going.
Yeah, football is where the money is.
Oh, football is where the money is because, like, okay, so let's just put it in sheer numbers. So you have the Dean Smith Center, which is one of the biggest stadiums for basketball in college in the country. So you have a couple of other ones, right? So you got, Rupp Arena's not even that big. Yeah, Syracuse, that's bigger. That's bigger than
Carrier Dome. Yeah.
Well, on campus.
So bigger. So 20,572 people can fit in the Dean Smith Center, and we have won 7 national championships, right? We have won 0 national championships in football, and there is 62,300 and some change that fit into Kenan Stadium. So you're talking about literally 3 times more.
We studied that in one of my classes, and after my sophomore year, they told me that, hey, you guys still made way more money than basketball last year.
Of course you did.
And I'm like, no, we didn't.
Football will always make more money.
Of course you do, because you got people like Ebron that pay for their name to be on the tight end room.
I thought maybe they were just selling cigarettes or loose cigarettes or something at the football games to make that extra money. I didn't know where it was coming from.
Look, you got Merritt's coming in to sell their BLTs. You got Carolina Brewery they're selling their beer. You got Eric that's sponsoring the tight end room. You got
Denores the DB room.
The defensive end room. It's like, what are you gonna do?
I don't know, man, but I just now that you mentioned it, all my former teammates make me feel poor. and I am fine with that.
You already know I'm friends with Eric. Eric's been on this show before. He's a friend of the program. He makes anybody feel poor, bro. He's just that.
Eric's doing all right.
Look,
he's doing all right for himself.
So to give everybody an update, this dude texted me yesterday from the Bel Air Country Club in Beverly Hills, showing me the golf course he was playing. So this dude is doing just fine.
If the thing about it is, you can meet Eric for the first time. It's gonna feel like you've known him for years. Like he's one of the best people.
That's the thing, man. Like, look,
super cool.
Okay,
Lauren's new favorite player.
Let me say this again.
I have a crush on him. Yeah, it's true.
Because Ferg kind of jumped in. Ferg jumped in on this, and we're about to sign off here. But EJ, I got to give you credit, bro. You're a different dude. You're very approachable. You're a big dude, man, right? So people are like, no, I'm not gonna go up and say hey to EJ. You guys, if you see him out in public, dude's got the biggest smile you'll ever see. He'll take a picture with you and everything. Just a great all around fucking guy. And one of my friends, and I'm happy to call him my friend and my golf buddy. And so I'm happy that you came on the show, man, and shared some of your stuff. Now I will say, I want you back on the show to talk about 2 things in particular. Number 1, I got to hear these fucking Marshawn Lynch stories. Number 2, please, I want to talk some CTE stuff. So
for sure. Oh yeah.
I want you back on the show, man. Maybe we can do after the first of the year. Have you back on the show and going into the. You know what? Let's do this. Let's have you on going into the playoffs, talking about NFL playoffs and talking about some CTE and some Marshawn Lynch shit. How you feel about that?
Oh, that's perfect for me.
Perfect. Let's do that. Let's just plan that. You and I will get together via text and shit, and we'll figure that out, okay?
I have very outrageous opinions towards NFL football, and today I didn't make my fantasy league at work, so I dropped all my top players. So
you're that guy.
One of those guys.
We don't have time to go into that, bro. We don't have to
give me back every compliment I gave him.
What you did was worse. What you did was
worse.
I'm just that guy, man. I mean, I've watched the league so many times. I am because one league I'm going to be in the playoffs, and I would just absolutely be upset if somebody did that. But I also did that, so
bro. Look,
I like it.
Collusion.
You lost the stripe, BJ.
It's like what you're doing is you're like, here, I don't need it anymore. It's got hundreds of dollars in cash.
I may have lost the stripe, but the good thing is I wear K-Swiss and not Adidas, so I got a few more left.
I wear K-Swiss playing tennis. We'll talk about that one day.
Got love for my shoes case.
Oh yeah, no, dude, I feel that, man. I feel that. All right, so what we'll do is we'll have you on, Eric. No, I get it, bro. Like you heard, man.
This should be on. Come on, man. That should be on. Come on, man.
All right,
send this
so
over to
hey, no, Eric, don't put this on Tar Heels, brother. This is fantasy football. This is very different.
Tar Heel football fans. That's exactly what they do.
I have no loyalties in fantasy football.
Hey, Eric, do me a favor, man. Next time you bring up NC State, come with some hardware. So, and we will talk about it then in more detail. So, yeah, right. So, anyway, EJ, I appreciate you so very, 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 very much. Lauren, it's always a pleasure as always, every week. Mr. Ferg, Ian, it's great. I love you guys. I hope you guys have a great week. We will see you next week. And EJ, we will see you next month, brother.
For sure, man.